Ah, Game Awards. Now, originally I was going to cover this when I had a bit of time, but I will not be available for a while, so we're here to cover it now and hope that turns out okay. There'll probably be something in the background, hopefully. Please future me. But yeah, we're going to talk about what all the winners and nominees that I think are interesting to talk about. We're going to skip over some stuff like esports team. I don't give a fuck. And then we're going to go into the announcements, which I think are more important, but we're going to talk about Game of the Year winners because a lot of people care, even though it's really trash. But that's how Game Awards have always been. I've been saying this for years. And I just clicked on the full list for the winners, and I also clicked on the list of announcements. So this is going to be my blind reaction. And I didn't know that Best Art Direction was won by Metaphor, uh, which is the like Persona-ish game. I haven't played it at all, which but that's the only thing I know. I someone told me about it and cool. But so we're going in blind, and because of the way it is, I'm spoiled immediately for Game of the Year, which is Astrobot. As somebody who has played most of the list here, now this is ignoring the fact that the stupid thing of uh, remakes and remasters and DLC are now applicable for Game of the Year, which I think is bullshit. But ignoring that, I do not think Astrobot was the best choice. I do think it was better to pick this over Elden Ring because it already won, and also DLC is not a new game. I don't care what anybody says; it's not a new game. Even Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has more of a say because while it is a remake, it is much more of a change than the DLC is. Yes, you change some stats. Yes, you have a new area to explore. Yes, you have new bosses. Blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, DLC does not. It's not a new game. I also don't think Rebirth should have been here, but that's me as well. I don't think remakes of ideas from 30ish years ago should not be applicable to a game of the year for 2024. I know it's not actually 30 years ago, it's 27ish, I think. I don't. 97, right? Do math, I don't care. But so we're stuck with Balatro, Black Myth Wukong, and Metaphor. Now, based on the three I've played, I have played Elden Ring's DLC, which I thought was fantastic, but I'm not going to count it. Based on the three that I've played, because I haven't played Metaphor at all, I was actually surprised Astrobot won, mostly because I thought Black Myth Wukong would kind of take it as the most recent popular action game. Astrobot is a platformer, puzzle adventure. It's very simplistic, and it's a family game, which it probably should have hinted at me that it would have won, because if it's family oriented, it's usually going to win. I do want to point out that where I kind of missed it in hindsight, where Wukong probably would have won if the gaming sphere wasn't so family oriented. I probably would have voted for Balatro at this time. Balatro is just one of those games that I think it is truly going to represent what this year was. And just because it's an indie game, I don't think it's undeserving of Game of the Year. That would be my vote of all the games I've played on this list. I have not played Metaphor, so maybe that's the best one. But just what I've played, I would probably put Balatro, and then because it's family oriented, I would probably tie it with Wukong. Honestly, you could go either way. I'm not too hurt at this pick. I just thought it was weird. But we go best game direction, which Astrobot won, which I see. The problem with getting multiple like wins like this is the game direction is very misleading because it's just game direction. I would actually have rather had Wukong be here, uh, but hey, Astrobot is winning as well. I will say Balatros should not win Best Game Direction. It's a it's great. I'm never gonna say it's not. It's probably my personal game of the year of this list anyway. Uh, but yeah. Next, we go into Best Narrative with Metaphor 1. I have no idea. The only ones I have played on here are Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and Silent Hill 2. Not played Like a Dragon yet. Have not played Hellblade 2, even though I'll get around to them. Seems like a worthy winner. I'm excited to play Metaphor. I'm going to be on the lookout for next year. Best Art Direction, Metaphor 1, which surprises me. Not because it won, but because it seems like the only reason Metaphor didn't win Game of the Year at some point is because it just came out too late, and it's also not a genre that's popular for Game of the Year. And a lot of people are gonna be like, "What about like Inquisition or something similar?" And I know the genres are slightly whatever, but it's just the way things are. These genres do not apply heavily to a Game of the Year position. They can win, but that's mostly if one, a lot of the games surrounding it are garbage, buggy messes that people can't play, or two, it's literally one of the best things that you could be playing at the time. And nowadays, it's a lot rarer to have happen because so many games come out. Best score in music, Final Fantasy VII Rebirth won, which is fair. I do think it's probably one of the better winners of this. Like, it's not one I can really disagree with. I do think Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has a right to the Wonder score, and it's not exactly the same, of course, but I do hate that remakes get to be here again. Silent Hill 2 also being here bothers me as well. Uh, I I will say Stellar Blade being on this list, I probably would have put that. I do think Stellar Blade has some sick music, but that's just a personal thing. Best audio design. Now, a lot of people always get confused on score and music and audio design. Audio design is important as hell. And of the games on here, which I've played three, Astrobot Rebirth and Silent Hill 2. I'd argue Silent Hill 2 did it best, but Silent Hill is always going to win in that regard. Hellblade 2 won this one. Haven't played it yet, so can't really make a great determination whether that was a good pick. Best performance is the main character, I think, for Hellblade 2. No idea. I need to play Hellblade in general. Innovation and accessibility, it's all Ubisoft is good at, is Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown. Games for Impact, Neva, whatever. Best ongoing game, Helldivers 2, which I'm kind of surprised because I really thought Destiny 2 would kind of get it, being that this is more than likely going to be its last year being around. I don't. It quote me on this, and I'll be surprised if Destiny 2 is still around next year. I have a feeling that it's going to be kind of going, but also, Helldivers 2 isn't a bad choice. I will say the controversy doesn't help, but hey, they're doing okay. Best community support, Baldur's Gate 3 one, obvious. Uh, just obvious as hell. Best independent game was Balatro, which makes sense. There also wasn't a great, like, I mean, Animal Well is probably the only other, like, indie game that I think could have, like, stacked this, but Balatros is so much better. Best debut indie game, which is really stupid that you can have the best game and then the best debut. Why am I saying debut? Whatever. I mean, you can have the same game. I would have liked the Plucky Squire to be here. I think it's a pretty good game. Pacific Drive is also pretty interesting, but Balatro won here. I don't really complain. Balatro is a great game. Yeah. Best mobile game is Balatro. It won. That's kind of fair. The only other one I would say could have maybe won is the Pokemon TCG Pocket. I think it's actually a really well done way to get into the trading card game. It's really nice. VR is Batman Arkham Shadow. Who cares? VR is not that important. Though I'm kind of surprised Metro Awakening didn't get as much highlight as it did. Best action game ended up being Black Myth Wukong. I'm not really surprised considering it didn't win anything else. I will say that Stellar Blade kind of gets shafted for all the controversy. Black Ops 6 gets shafted because it's Call of Duty. And Helldivers 2 is always in controversy. And the Space Marine 2, it's just Warhammer. So people that aren't in Warhammer or don't know about Warhammer at all kind of ignore it. And so it's never going to win unless it's literally the only game that came out for like 5 months. Best action adventure game is Astrobot. I'm not really surprised. The other one was Star Wars Outlaws. I thought could have made it. The Legend of Zelda: Echoes of Wisdom. Even though I think the game is mid, is and it's not mid. It's good. It's just not great. I thought those two had a better chance of winning, but a lot of people hate on Outlaws. Um, with not a lot of justifiable reason, and The Legend of Zelda winning Best Action Adventure Game, uh, even though it's not like the big groundbreaking game, makes sense. Astrobot winning makes sense here. I'm also not saying Silent Hill 2 win wouldn't make sense ever, and also Prince of Persia: The Lost Crown should never win. That game is not good. I hate people that are trying to defend this game. That as a Prince of Persia fan, it's not good, and even outside of it as a game, I don't think it's that fun. Best RPG, we had a remake, a DLC, and then two other games. So luckily, Metaphor won. We're gonna ignore the other things in there because they're not worth it. Best fighting game, I was kind of surprised that fighting games kind of suck this year. Um, I One of the things that I also think could have been on here is, and maybe it's after the cutoff for the release, is Rivals of Aether 2. As I've played all these fighting games, and I do think that Tekken 8 is probably the winner, barely, but that's also because I don't really see Sparking Zero as a fighting game. I get it as fighting mechanics, but it's more of like a party slash just like Budokai Tenkaichi 3 is not a fighting game to me. I went and made up little stories in my head and had fun. That's what that game is. Like a sandbox game for Dragon Ball. That's all it is. Uh, Best family game, Astrobot 1. Funnily enough, I kind of wanted the Plucky Squire to win this one. I have not played the Super Mario Party Jamboree game that came out. Maybe it's good. I have no idea. And The Legend of Zelda not winning as well is also a little confusing. I thought Astrobot getting Game of the Year would mean that I wouldn't get Family Game because we should diversify. But hey, I guess Astrobot is good in all these departments. Best Sim slash Strategy being Frostpunk 2. Have not played a single sim that came out this year. Manor Lords did look interesting. I'll probably check in that one. Best sports racing game is EA Sports FC 25. Who the fuck cares? Best multiplayer game is Helldivers 2. I'd probably argue that uh, the other options were pretty mid besides Space Marine 2, but hey. Best adaptation, which I do think is really important. We have Arcane, Fallout, Knuckles, Like a Dragon, Yakuza, and Tomb Raider: The Legend of Lara Croft. I think Fallout winning makes sense. Having finally gone around to watching the show, it stands out as really special. And Arcane, I've seen the first episode, and I get it. I should probably watch it through, but I'm not hooked as I am with Fallout. That could be because I'm a big Fallout fan, but biases exist. Most anticipated game was Grand Theft Auto 6. Who's surprised? I will say that there's a lot of stuff to be anticipating, and I get it. A lot of people are a little iffy on like Avowed, but I do think Avowed's gonna be great. I hope it is. It's the game I've been wanting for a while. I've really felt it. Also, Metroid Prime 4 not being most anticipated. Where's my Metroid fans at? Where the fuck are you? Seems like there's two of us, and like show up more. Monster Hunter Wilds also I think would probably be a bit hard to like press against if it wasn't so common of an entry in the series. But that's just in general, and I think the rest of this is esports, which I don't give a shit. Uh, so let's go to what was announced. There's a lot of classic stuff that was announced. Uh, Mostly, I'm saying that because I know there has to be like some weird shit going on. But the first one that immediately shows up is Ninja Gaiden. Ninja Gaiden Rage Bound, which is supposed to be a side scroller, harkening back to the original Ninja Gaiden, is supposed to make an appearance at some point next year. Now, it's the same developers of Blasphemous, which gives me a lot of hope because Ninja Gaiden deserves a lot. It's a very legacy game. This is the game that was so popular, it came back as a 3D hack and slash, beat 'em up, whatever you want to call it, action adventure, RPG. There's a lot to it, and it still kicked ass. I do think Ninja Gaiden is one of those series that the original games aren't as good as people really like to say. Yes, it's a great speedrunning game. Yes, it has a lot of skill tests, and yes, of the NES library, the first Ninja Gaiden is probably in the higher bit of it. It's still not overly fantastic. I'm not gonna say that the originals are special. So side scroller, and I'm not super excited. I'm just excited to see Ninja Gaiden come back. Hopefully, it leads to another 3D game. There's a VR game that I don't care about. Slay the Spire 2, I'm pretty excited, mostly because I've been getting into Slay the Spire recently. If anybody has been watching anything in the past, like, I don't know, like 2 months, 3 months almost. I just started Slay the Spire for the first time. I've been enjoying it. I'm excited to see what the second one looks like. Dave the Diver is supposed to get an expansion or a sequel apparently, which I'm kind of excited for. It was a pretty good game. Thickest Thieves is a weird combination of like I don't even know. It describes it as Thief and Deus Ex, but I from what I've seen, I don't really like that combo because Deus Ex is really different. But it's like a multiplayer stealth game. I'm interested. It seems okay. We have Shadow Labyrinth is a very cool looking Metroidvania. I'm gonna be on the lookout for this. It's yeah, I do think it looks pretty insane. I will check on this. I do love Metroidvania. Uh, Now, Steel Paws, which is from the person who did Shenmue, Woo, I don't care. Somebody was talking to me about this game. I just do not care. I don't care about that one. Uh, Celesta 2 is kind of important. Uh, I like Celesta 1 playing the little I have played. The Witcher 4 is announced. Surprise. I haven't seen this list, so it's actually pretty good. I've skipped over a few, by the way. The Witcher 4 coming out is kind of surprising, um, but I don't see much of it. So, first trailer, we'll see what comes out for this on CD Project Red. There we go. I'm excited. I'm a big defender of Witcher 3. I understand Witcher 3 isn't as popular as it once was, but I do think it's a very good game, and I do think, hopefully, that The Witcher 4 is great. We have an Elden Ring uh, massive. What is this? Is this another DLC? Oh, it's a co op action spin off. Interesting. Elden Ring Night Rain. Looks sick. I just get some screenshots and a little bit of a GIF, but looks sick. I'm excited. I'm see the thing is like this is coming from somebody who is a huge Souls fan in general, and I don't like the openness of Elden Ring because I feel like it takes away from like circumventing a hard spot or finding your way finally. I don't know. Like it's hard for me to put in words why Elden Ring is a great game. I'm never going to take away from that, but it's hard for me to like kind of put away the words of why I don't think it's as good as some other Souls games, which is blasphemous to some people and not the game developer. But a very important one uh, that I think Project Robot, which is not the actual name, but it's what is the like untitled game name. It's the same creator as Ico, Shadow of the Colossus, and The Last Guardian, which, ignoring the last one, the other two games are special. Shadow of the Colossus specifically is one of the best games of all time to me. It stands out even in the era it was introduced, and even nowadays. If you haven't had a chance to pick up Shadow of the Colossus and try it, I recommend. Especially like the PS4 version. I don't know if PS5 has a special version. I have no clue, but try it out. We have Split Fiction, which looks like another It Takes Two thing. Uh, it looks like a multiplayer thing. I'm excited. It Takes Two it ended up being pretty good. I did think No Way Out sucked, but that was me. It Takes Two was very special, but Steel Hunters is looking to be a hero shooter. I'm kind of tired of hero shooters in general. Borderlands 4, I do not care for Borderlands. I get that there's a big hate train for Borderlands 3 that is a little too much, but I also think a lot of people. I also think a lot. Did I say a lot of people? A lot of people twice? I have no idea. But I also think a lot of people like to dress up and put nostalgia goggles on for the other Borderlands. Don't get me wrong, Borderlands 2 is a good game. I'm never gonna knock it. It is a good game. The rest of the series is pretty shit. So, another game being announced is not my cup of tea. Uh, we had a DLC for Tekken 8. Cool. I'm glad to see that a character from Final Fantasy 16 is the DLC character. It just gives me the character name, which I think Clive is from Final Fantasy 16, right? I'm pretty sure. It just says Final Fantasy Clive, which yeah, it has to be 16. Whatever. Um, I'm glad to see Final Fantasy 16 get some representation, even though I don't think it's that great of a Final Fantasy. But hey, that's just me. New Virtual Fire was confirmed, which cool. I might actually play it. I do like Virtual Fighter. Project Century, which is a third-person action game set in Japan in 1915. I will be excited. I hope there's a lot of drug usage because this is 1915, and I get it. It's Japan versus China, which China was definitely like going insane on it, but Japan also was at the time. I hope they don't dress it up too much. But a lot of people like to revisionist history, all the stuff. We have Turok Origins rebooted thanks to Saber Interactive. Okay, it ditches first person. What? Okay, I'm not sold anymore. We'll see. Warframe 1999 new expansion. Cool for Warframe fans. You guys keep on pushing. If there's ever a community, if I want to like feel that everybody else around me loves the game just as much as I do, I would go to Warframe. Too bad I'm not that into the game, but you guys kill it every time. Onimusha. Huh. Is it a new one? It is. Coming in 2026, then why reveal it? Fuck you. Um, I'm sorry. I hate that shit. I'm tired of this. The next game, Overcooked developer Ghost Town Games, is Stage Fright, with two characters avoiding hostile aliens in a split world. Okay, not very interesting. Sonic Racing Cross Worlds uh, is a Sonic Racing game. Cool. Thank you for fucking just not saying shit. Mafia: The Old Country, which is just another Mafia game, or is this like we're rebooting it? I fucking thank you for no words. Okami's what? Okami sequel. Holy shit! And we're getting Clovers. That's funny. Same guy as Okami. This is an instant buy for me. I love Okami. Holy shit! This might be the most surprising thing I've seen. I everything like that so far. Like there's a couple that I thought was interesting, like Ninja Gaiden. It's weird to see that back. Um, I'm scrolling up. What did I run into? Like Project Robot, the guy behind Shadow of the Colossus. Seeing that, like, there's a couple things that are like weird, like Turok Origins, like Okami sequel. What the fuck? That's wild. And then the final announcement came from Naughty Dog. Intergalactic the Heretic Prophet uh, showed a conversation. Blah blah blah. Okay, cool. Naughty Dog is pretty decent at making games. Hopefully, they don't put too much of the Last of Us Part Two into this because I just don't want to hear about it anymore. It's been so long, and it still gets mentioned to me every now and then. Fucking ridiculous, but wow, that's a lot of announcements I think are pretty solid. Uh, I'm there's a couple I skipped. I skipped like I think 8. I'm pretty excited for Shadow Labyrinth. That does look pretty sick. Uh, Okami sequel. I'm on the road. I'm on board for that. It is just revealed to be currently in development, which I kind of get pissed off at this. Just a minor rant before I end this. If you have a fucking game in development, if you have a fucking DLC, if you have fucking anything in development, anything being worked on, stop telling me 2 years before it's out. I don't give a fuck. It like by the time it gets around to being announced, you're like, so are you excited for it? It's like I have forgotten you were coming out. I don't care. You need to announce this 6 weeks before. Like surprise announcements for games need to be done 6 weeks before the game. Enough time for pre-orders, be able to produce stuff, or even if you're expecting to be a big seller, if you're like From Software who needs a lot of product just to be moved because you're always a big seller, then announce it 12 weeks. To the 12 weeks, I don't know if people know this. 12 weeks is not even close to a fucking year, let alone two. So please stop announcing shit this early. But yeah, overall good game awards for the announcements. I do think the awards specifically are a little negative, but it's actually one of the better years, surprisingly. Overall, what was your Game Awards expectations going into it? Are you outraged that Astrobot won? And what's your big win on the announcement side? I do think announcements are pretty important to be excited for, especially into next year and the year after, apparently, because people can't fucking announce it later. But uh, I do want to say that if I say anything negative, I stick by it because fuck you. And if I said anything positive, I was lying. Everything sucks. No, in actuality, decent announcements all the way around. And I'm excited to see how some of these turned out, like Turok Origins or even the Sonic Racing game. I was going to say Okami sequel, but that's not coming out for like 2, 3 years. So, hey, but till later.